Time for a bit of a tour of my Kvatch Rising mod, whilst we talk about cities, Bethesda, refresh rates, all kinds of stuff. So sit back and enjoy. This is the second Kvatch mod I made. The first one was Kvatch Aftermath. The first one got a few complaints because it wasn't a strict lore mod and people wanted a lore mod of arenas and stuff, and I argued that no city's ever built exactly the same way after it's been destroyed. And I know because I live in a city that was almost destroyed during World War II, so and I happen to know German cities were exactly the same, they were rebuilt differently. But players being players, they wanted it just so I made this mod. This is a strict lore mod. Everything in it, right down to the pictures you're seeing, focus on Kvatch lore background. So if you enter Kvatch Rising, the Kvatch in Kvatch Rising, you'd be immersed in Kvatch lore, Kvatch and Oblivion lore. It's exactly what I was talking about in a video that I made, which you may or may not have seen yet, right, about steeping the detail in local lore or keeping it local so players feel immersed. And then when you leave an area or the city, that's left behind. It's no longer relevant because you're not in that location anymore. Well, this did that. This followed that. This is early work on my part that followed that role. Now, those flashing little things you see on the potions, I think that's my monitor refresh rate because it doesn't usually happen. And I've got a 144Hz monitor now. And it does have some side effects with Bethesda's games. On Fallout 4, for example, the dialogue, well, second line dialogue starts before the first line is finished, so I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, players demanded arenas and all kinds of stuff, even though, you know, there was no guarantee that the city would even have an arena when it's rebuilt. And I wanted to make it fairly authentic, and I noticed most of the architecture looked a little bit like coral but with different stonework. And if you ever watch some of the videos I made about the making of Kvatch Rising, there's 6 of them, because from 0 to version 1 took 6 weeks to make, and I did it on my own. So from the initial conception to actually releasing version 1, there's one video a week showing you the progress I made, and it's on this channel somewhere. But when you look outside and you look at the brickwork, that's the same brickwork you see in the ruins. I mean, if you look closely, you'll notice it gives it that authentic Kvatch look and feel as well. So a combination of coral buildings and Kvatch stonework set the tone, made it look like it should look, and I was quite pleased with the results, to be honest, because too many cities use old unskinned things from other cities, and it doesn't look unique. Where you can see this definitely does, even though many of the buildings are from coral. Now all the places as well, like this is the King Justinus Arms, and it's named after a lore character from the Elder Scrolls. This guy here now is talking about it. But every location, every street in this mod is based in lore as well. It refers to something important in Colovia or in Kvatch or in the past of both. So you can't really avoid, being reminded that you're in Colovia or you're in Kvatch or the history of Kvatch. Even the main plot, the main plot for this, which I made was basically the Count and someone trying to overthrow him, is basically regicide. Says his family want to kill him off and he wants to kill them off. So it's a question of whose side do you take. And you'll see a little bit of that in this tour of Kvatch Rising, because there's a body that you found. It wasn't just killed and forgotten, it's actually part of a quest. You'll see it shortly anyway. But all these places, locations you see, are used for various things. You see some of them later on, they're used for rebuilding your own house and configuring it. So you go around and buy things from them, and once you've done them, the shop's business is done. You don't need them again. Oh yeah, they all open and close according to the time of day. There's a life in this city anyway that goes on and changes throughout the day, and even day of the week, to be honest. So But yeah, it is Kvatch Rising. It's one of the cities I'm most proud of because it did turn out rather well. Although there's plenty of features I wanted to add, but one thing you learn is at some point you've got to say stop. And I had other plans I had other mods I wanted to work on. So this one, when it got released, got to think it was 1.3, and then I stopped there. But I could have most definitely have kept adding to it, no doubt about it at all. These are the old Kvatch guards, now promoted to knights, you know, for their defence of Kvatch. And this is their hut. This is where they, well, not hut, this is where they hang out. Basically, the Count doesn't trust them, so he's promoted them, then put them out to pasture. So they're basically in here getting drunk every night, safely out of harm's way, where the Count doesn't have to worry about them. He's got his own guards now. So it's part of the plot, politics and stuff like that. But yeah. Anyway, it is, as you can see, it's quite a good city mod. I mean, it doesn't really help destroy anything, you know, as such lore-wise. It just supports what's already there. So I don't know why I can't get through that gate, but I couldn't. But even around the edges, you know, around here, there's secrets in this Kvatch. Secrets for you to find. I'm not going to mention them, right? But there are locations hidden away. I might drop you a few clues in this video, actually, you know, like point at a doorway and not enter it. Right, I'll maybe take you into some of them. But every single guild, I mean, everyone is represented in this town. So I mean, you want to be in Fighters Guild, Mages Guild, it's all here. And this is the body I was talking about earlier. Part of the plot that kickstarts it. Do you think she fell or do you think she was pushed? That's the question. I mean, you get Dark Brotherhood in here, the Thieves Guild's here, everything. There's some people practicing. You see, so... Also, one of the changes I made in Kvatch to make it more lore friendly is the actual design of the castle matches the external layout. So where the other one just seemed to have been long corridors heading back and back and back, but the actual tower itself on the outside was just a big square keep. This one is a square keep with everything in it fits into the design of the external castle, so it works better. And I think it makes for a better castle as well, although, you know, trying to get to the Count, that would have been... You could have gone multiple routes in this version, but in Bethesda's you only had one choice. I know he's talking there, he's a bit sarcastic towards you. He's not a very nice Count, this Count Horace. So whether you follow him or not, it's entirely up to you. The plot lets you choose. But one of the things is he'll give you a little lower class house, which you'll see later, and say here's a reward for your help, right? And it's really a slap in the face for what you did for Kvatch. But his nephew will give you a big grand house, you know, to help you settle in and be important in the town. And quite frankly, why would you settle for a lower class house if you could have a big grand one? Right? That's the first house we went in, by the way, is the big grand one. You'll see the lower class one shortly. But anyway, it's the John, I think it's John Goldwine versus this guy. Says they're both basically out to kill each other, you know, and trying to outdo each other. It's entirely possible, you know, to choose which way you want to go or go a different route in this. Left it open to the player. What you're looking at now is exploring the castle, right? Remember, the layout on the outside matches the layout on the inside in this mod. So you can walk around the walls, in the walls and on top of the walls. At least the ones where you can't see into Tamriel, because obviously cities are their own well space and there's nothing outside the walls other than barren terrain. So you can see into the castle, but you wouldn't want to see outside because there's nothing to see. But these are the dungeons. But everything here is everything here has a purpose. And this, when I was talking in a previous video about detail, levels of detail make cities come alive. This is the kind of thing I was talking about. Remember, I made this, I think it was 2012, I think it was. About 10 years ago now. And I've advanced much further than this now. I do much better work than this now. I mean, you've seen Return to Helgen, right? I mean, it's much smaller than this, but the plot's grander, there's more going on. I do like to have players do voice acting. I mean, if I wanted to make this look very professional, all I'd have to do is re-record the voice lines using professional voice actors. But this was made on a budget of £0. So I had no budget whatsoever, so it was done on the cheap. And players helped me get the voice lines done quickly, so it was out the door. But there's so many voice lines in this that if I was to wait for people who knew what they were doing to produce the lines, I'd still be waiting today, 10 years later. Because getting voice lines in this kind of mod is especially bad. People always let you down. Because you have this thing, I don't know if you notice big projects, they tend to say, whoa, I'm making this grand mod. And they'll spend the next 6 months making videos about it, but not doing a stroke of work on the mod itself. So they'll be on the forum, everybody said, oh, you're doing great, fantastic, but they haven't done any work yet. They just made a video like this, in fact, this kind of video. Right? They won't show anything they've done because they haven't done anything. Now, voice acting is a little bit like that. People sign up, they say, yeah, I'm a voice actor on so-and-so mod, but they don't actually send me the lines. And I always saw it like this. There he is, easy of a gold one. But I see it like this, unless you hand in the voice lines, you're not a voice actor on a mod. You're just a wannabe voice actor that hasn't done anything yet. And that's the point I kept trying to make, because it used to irritate me quite a lot that I'd be waiting for lines from a person that had no intention of ever handing them in. So I kind of came down hard on those time wasters. That said, though, there's a lot of people did hand in lines. They weren't always the best voice actors, but they were reliable voice actors. So, these were players like me and you, normal players. And we all had a great deal of fun making the mod. I mean, some of them used to put some parody lines in as well with the lines I asked them to record, which was hilarious half the time. But yeah, we had a lot of fun anyway, and that was kind of the point. Because this isn't a professional mod. The mod is made by amateurs. The very nature of a mod is an amateur production. And this is very amateur. Because I wasn't getting paid to do this. Nobody else was either. There was no money to hire anybody. But, yeah. But if I wanted to, though, like I said, I could go to these voice actors, professionals now, and say, can you record these lines for me, please? And just add them to this mod. And you would see a massive improvement overnight simply by changing the voice lines. Some people, though, did such a good job on the lines that I wouldn't want to change them. But I kept the default greetings because I had to host the mod myself because of issues with the community trying to get my mods removed from the internet. So I had to host them myself, and file size mattered. File size is I had to use my bandwidth for you to download it, and my file space. And because I couldn't upload it anywhere else without some twat getting it removed saying it was a virus, the only way I could keep this mod available so you could use it was to make certain shortcuts. So I made shortcuts on the greetings in order to keep the file size limited. Because you can see how many characters are in here, how many NPCs I made, all with their own lines and stuff. It's a lot. It's a lot of dialogue. I mean, I made thousands and thousands of lines of dialogue, and you can't really get away from the fact that this does eat up space. I mean, I'd love to have done everything. I mean, it isn't a case of being lazy, because I mean, I was perfectly happy to record the lines, and I went out of my way to record lots of lines. Although I didn't do an Obsidian and just make it all dull and boring. These are all background you can select when you needed to know something, like he's talking about here. It was optional. The main quest stuff just ticked along normally, and also the main quest, I tended to keep that short so not to bore people, so they can just get on with the quest lines. I had the character be interesting. This is where Obsidian fail. They tend to make their characters boring. They're not interesting to listen to. Where some of the characters I made, like the Count in this, he's clearly a sarcastic twat. You know, you could take an instant dislike to him. And here's a guy as well. I can't remember who did the voice work for him, but the dodgy looking geezer. The guy who did it quite well. I quite like that, you know. And he's got a bit of an attitude as well. So, but I like doing that, and I was learning this process because I never did a lot of voice work in the past. But when I started doing work with Oblivion mods and stuff, I started doing a hell of a lot. The mic I'm using right now is the same mic I used to record back then, and the quality vastly improved when I got this mic. Mics last a long time, and this is a good quality mic. I don't want it to fall over, so I'll just adjust it. That's better. But yeah, anyway, this little area here is a dodgy part of Kvatch. This is a dodgy area. I mean, this guy, the Undertaker, remember that name? Right? Now, I'm not going to tell you any secrets, but, oh, look at that, Dark Brotherhood hideout. Like I said, every guild is represented here. If you join the Dark Brotherhood, you can get in there and do missions on them. And you can get quests, repeatable quests to murder people and stuff. But the rest of it is just there to supply, you know, resources for decorating homes and stuff like that usually. Or to hide, well, to allow me to hide things amongst a multitude of shops. One shop might be important, 6 of them might not be, right? You just don't know which. But this is the seedy area, that area right there of Kvatch Rising. So, and here's a fully functional arena. I'm not going to play in it because the door's shut anyway, and this is a fairly low-level character. But we'll show you quickly about it. But in this, I didn't really like the idea of arenas, but I went ahead and made this one, and I managed to make it work by making it about dealing justice to all the traitors that cause harm to Oblivion and the rest of Tamriel. So here you face all these people that joined the Mythic Dawn, and you take them on, you know, one at a time and dispense justice. And I thought it worked rather well. And in this as well, you get to keep the loot that you found. So after you've dispensed justice, you can loot the body and take the stuff. So you get paid. It's a good way of making a bit of money. I did add this because people wanted an arena. They were complaining like crazy about not having one. So I was listening to people, even though I disagreed with them about how a city would look when it got rebuilt. But this is as close to Kvatch's layout as you could get, right? Given the ruins and everything else, because there's a map. So I think it's in the Count's Room that showed you Kvatch, and then there's the actual street layout and everything else. And this street layout does more or less match how it's supposed to be. For instance, when you leave the arena and you head along that road full of shops that you're about to see, and then you turn down towards the back of the church, you'll recognise it as the route you took when you left the church in order to try and get in the back way and let the men into the main keep area. It's that same route. It's just that some of the methods of getting in are now blocked off. Like I've locked out the tower, so you can't use the tower to get across anymore, unless you actually become Count, which is a spoiler alert. But yeah, it's very close to how it needed to be anyway, I thought. And it also, like I said, it's the detail. You know, keeping the detail in there so people feel like they're actually in a real living, breathing city. That's important. I mean, I was exploring this for the first time in this mod on Kvatch Aftermath, and I got better and better at it. I mean, some of these, you know, squeaky voices you hear, I actually like the voices, the voice actors, but it's because they're player voice actors, you know, they're not professionals, because none of us got paid to do this. But some of them worked rather well, some of them didn't. You know, like Roger, he did the voice acting in a lot of my Fallout New Vegas stuff. Worked brilliantly on that, but a thick Texas accent didn't work so well in Tamriel. So, but I didn't mind that. I mean, voice acting is very subjective anyway. So people either like it or they don't.
We're looking for recruits.
Now this is a Fighters Guild shop, right? So they won't let you buy in there unless you actually a member of the Fighters Guild. if you go a bit further down, right? I mean, here you've got a little doorway. It's like well hidden. You know, go in here a little bit. Again, it's awkward to get to. And right there, you've got a fence. Not Fighters Guild. Thieves Guild fence. Who also offers you special jobs. Again, these are repeatable jobs, so you can go and do a few jobs for the Fighters Guild, Thieves Guild, whilst you're in Kvatch. In fact, you could level up your character doing these jobs easily without leaving Kvatch at all. But don't forget though that Kvatch Rising isn't just Kvatch, it's every stage of Kvatch, from its being burnt ruined to being recovered by nature to being rebuilt. If you don't enable the 4th era Kvatch, which is what you're looking at here, you will get to see the Kvatch rising from the ashes again, which is the name of the mod, Kvatch Rising. The guy, pro-choice campaigner in the camp, the Kvatch camp, he will enable any part of Kvatch, from the burning ruin through to nature taking over, to the rebuilding, to the finished thing, and you can just enjoy that part, or you can let the main plot, upgrade it slowly as you go through it, and by the time you get to the end of the Oblivion plot and you finish it and Martin's dead, you get this version. So anyhow, that guy you talked to then, Todd, I think his name is, right, he's a special character in it. You might not notice it at the moment because I'm not in a certain group, but once you do get to know what he does, you'll realise that there is another guild in Kvatch, which was also in Kvatch Aftermath. This one here isn't a guild that Bethesda have ever made, but it's definitely one from their Mages Guild plots. But they've got their guild is hidden away in a place where you might expect to find bodies. Let me just say that. Also, there's an extra quest that it's only valid at the end of the Mages Guild before the 4th era starts. So if you enable Kvatch before the end of the main quest and you finish the Mages Guild, that quest will be available. If you don't, that quest comes and goes and you don't get a chance to play it. So those people that enable it early, there's a bit of an Easter egg in there, So you enable the 4th era before the end of the main plot, and you're already Archmage, then you'll get to see it, and it's in this area. Oh look, it's hard, it's locked with a hard lock. Fancy that. That's a clue, that, by the way. These things here, this is the the Kvatch trading thing, company. I've used Kvatch Trading Company a lot, especially in Kvatch Aftermath, and it's a really good way of adding an extra element to the life of things. Because let's face it, traders come and go all the time, and with these traders, it's just a way of adding more quests. It was one of those things I kept meaning to come back to and expand upon, but I haven't done that. So it's a shame, really. But like I said, I never run out of ideas when I'm doing these mods. I always have more I can do, more I can do, more I can do. Just on and on and on. I've got to stop myself so I can move on to other things. But yeah, this mod would have been probably as grand as Kvatch Aftermath was, version 7, with tons of features, and probably 1,000 times better if I'd continued developing it. But like I said, I had other things I wanted to do, so that got pushed back. But just around the corner here, there's a gallows. You don't see it at the moment, but every now and again you see a body hanging from there. That supports the arena plotline about traitors and things like that, so it's all part of the same thing. And of course you've got the Temple of Akatosh and stuff. Sid doesn't really like me that much because this character's committed a crime somewhere. I'm not too sure where, but yeah. And then you've got the guy in the background, statue in the background, which is of the guy who fought off Cameron the Usurper, I think it was, or Cameron the Destroyer. I can't remember his name now. Right, but ancient Kvatch lore, when it was last destroyed before this term. There are lots of secret places. Right, I've said this before when I was in this area, and it's not necessarily in this area, but there are lots of secret places in this city. It does have its secrets, it does have its special people, and you do get access to many of them once you achieve certain things in the normal game, or you join certain factions and that kind of thing. So yeah, don't be surprised if you're running around and you come across a door that's locked 1 minute and then you do something and then suddenly you can get in. But I would advise against picking locks constantly, because one of the things people used to do is they picked a lock in the Elder Council mod. And it wasn't actually part of my mod, it was a Thieves Guild quest door, and they ruined the Thieves Guild quest for them. And there we go, this is the equivalent of a Saturday market, you know, in the main courtyard. I like the one I did in Kvatch Aftermath, so I kept it. Although I do prefer the Kvatch Aftermath version, because it just feels more friendly. Yeah, sticking it in this location doesn't feel as, you know, as good. But to be honest though, you got to make use of this empty space somehow, and this makes it happen. But this is city life. This is what I was talking about, street life. You know, that's missing in many mods, and I think it's really important, you know, that these kind of spaces are reused often, you know, by features like this. So yeah. I mean, these are just examples of what can be sold, but you can sell various goods to them and buy various goods. But again, this is a feature I was planning on expanding on, but I never went back to it, so it's a shame really. Because I mean, once I start expanding, each one of them would have had a little bit more than the basics. Because in order to get this done in 6 weeks, I had to like rush through a certain amount of work. Anyway. That's Kvatch Rising for you. You haven't seen the stages or the eras unfolding, because I've just showed you the 4th era feature. But you could get all of the features of this, you know, all stages, you know, if you go to the pro-choice campaigner in the compound. But anyhow, we're going to call it there, and hope you enjoyed the video and this chat and everything else and this little sneak peek. And I'll see you in the next one.